So anyone at any age can get overwhelmed. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter what color you are. It's a feeling that anyone can go through. And it goes through a lot of people on a day-to-day basis. You might be walking on the street or taking the train to somewhere and you don't know what those people all around you are dealing with. You'll never know. But chances are, at least one of them is probably going to be feeling pretty overwhelmed with the whole life situation, because you've got to juggle work, you've got to juggle your family, you've got to juggle even down to the point where your phone notifications go off. A lot of people don't understand, but the more notifications you have on your phone, the more attention you have to give to it, and your brain can only handle so much in a day. But people have a lot of responsibilities, or at least they think they do. They think that they're a lot more busy than they actually are. Do you know why? Because they tend to get stuck in their heads, and that's perfectly normal. So I'm going to try and give a little bit of a few practical tips on how to handle feeling overwhelmed. And when you think you're a lot more busy than you think you are, because a lot of your brain energy is pretty much taken downhill when you are feeling pretty overwhelmed. And what ends up happening is you tend to get stuck in this kind of analysis paralysis sort of thing where you just get stuck and you might end up procrastinating and then you end up regretting it afterwards. So let's try and fix it one step at a time. So to be honest, I feel like it comes and stems from the world that we live in. At least the modern world. It kind of glorifies being busy, and being busy is gonna feel like a trap because hustle culture, and maybe even you might have some family members or some peers where it's like, yeah, I'm the hardest worker, which means that if they are constantly working, maybe achieving things or grinding, and if you're not doing that, you're going to be falling behind. And then we kind of just all fit into this narrative of, yeah, okay, we're going to have to work a lot, very, very hard in order to actually feel adequate within life. Now, don't get me wrong, you have to work hard to achieve anything. However, hustle culture, taken to very extremes, can be very, very toxic. And it's an easy trap to get into, especially when you're obsessed with some goals that you might have or the lifestyle that you want. But we have to take a moment to really realize that sometimes just to exist is really, really healthy for you. Just to kind of, even if you just lounge around on a hammock next to a beach, you're probably doing more for your body and mind than you are by feeling feelings of overwhelmedness, feeling like it's too much basically. I don't know what the word is exactly, but yeah, maybe you're someone that works. Maybe you work at, you're working on your career. Maybe you've got a few interviews, or maybe you're even at school and you look at your sort of calendar constantly. You have back-to-back commitments, and then you're just there. You're taking a deep breath. You're sighing. You're stressed out. You're rubbing your temples and your eyes, and you're just scratching your hair, and you're just thinking, man, I'm so busy. I'm so overwhelmed. I can't handle it. My mental, my emotional energy is costing me a lot now. And this is for the person or people, maybe you might pack your schedules and say yes to everything, where you sort of don't like to prioritize yourself because you feel like there's a need for validation. There's like a little fear of saying no sometimes. There's even maybe avoiding the sort of feelings of inadequacy. And that's why I say sometimes being busy and sometimes feeling overwhelmed can be a pretty big mask for a lot of deeper issues. And the reason why you're overwhelmed is because that's just how your body communicates with you. Perfectly fine, and sometimes it's perfectly healthy for this to happen. Now again, I'm not no sort of professional to talk about this, but it just seems to make sense, so take what you will from it. So the way that I kind of like to see it, at least on a day-to-day basis, right, your energy is finite. It's quite limited, so it's pretty much like a battery. Every sort of task, decision, thought process, interaction, whatever the case is, it drains your battery. And so when you have a lot of things to do, like even down to notifications on your phone, it's taking a lot of energy from you, from your mental and emotional state. Because imagine you got notifications that's like, work email or Instagram or emails or things that you think are very, very productive because they're coming in real time. But if you don't need it at that time, and then, why have it there? Because it's going to drain you. As soon as your phone pops up, your brain's going to stop doing whatever you were doing and check your phone. And even doing that is going to take a lot of energy from you. It's a lot of mental clutter. And then you're going to sort of have that notification at the back of your mind whilst you're doing what you're doing. So now you're dealing with two things at once. So you're not really going to be mentally clear at that point, right? And then imagine pairing that with some of the things that you might not even be doing, like unfinished tasks, chores, maybe you gotta cook, you're worrying about the future, maybe you have guilt of the past. And then it's like you've got 100 tabs open in your brain when you're doing nothing. And it's gonna just take up too much of your battery, man. It's gonna take up too much of your CPU that's in your brain. It's just not gonna be good, right? It's just gonna lag you out. It's gonna drain you and might even fry you. Because some PCs, they get damaged when it's taken over its limits to the point where you feel overwhelmed. So step one, or at least I'd like to say or think that this is step one. Let's try and close out some of the mental tabs that you have existing in there. Maybe you can write it down. Maybe you can start to ask yourself, what can I let go of? How can I sort of delegate this responsibility in terms of my priority list? What's urgent? What's not urgent? Write it down, man. It's pretty easy and it doesn't take up too much time to write down what your to-do list is going to be. And then when you start to actually dissect it down, it shouldn't be as bad as you think it is, or at least because it's in your brain and there's no sort of organization, it's going to feel a lot better, especially because you can actually have it down in physical form rather than in your brain. And then you can start to let go within your brain just to make space for what matters, to have that mental clarity to really go forward with your life. Because the cycle of being overwhelmed is pretty common and it's pretty normal. No one really talks about it. No one really says that it's an issue. And I don't think that's good. Especially because sometimes it can come to the point where it costs people's lives. That's not good. Everyone deserves to live, so. And then what you should do is, from this list, just try to see what you can take on a very realistic scale and what you can't take on. Maybe if it's 2 things in a day, or maybe if you need to delegate it to the point where it's a lot easier to do, breaking it down. If you've got to cook food, then set some time to do that. Maybe have a recipe in mind, or if it's notifications on your phone distracting you from work, then just put it on don't disturb. And there's like filters you can put on there, so if it's an emergency, so you'll get the notifications for those things. But these are just pretty basic things that you probably know what to do, because I guess it's kind of common knowledge, right? But we don't apply some of the things that are the most simple things to do. So try to experiment, spend some time with yourself in terms of doing that. And then number 3, I would probably say, is to spend time resting. Now, you might be one who procrastinates, and that's not resting. That's just active stress. When I'm talking about resting, I'm talking about actually recharging, having a really nice shower, appreciating the shower, or taking a walk in nature. Maybe you can do some deep breathing to help some of the physical parts of your body. A lot of people nowadays don't breathe as deep as they should, and so they're quite kind of closed off. But that's a story for another video. But yeah, anything that kind of brings you some sort of joy, an actual joy, not like, getting on the game and coming off the game more angry than you came on it. Shout out to rank play though. You just gotta be kind of a little bit more present, more clear, and actually just enjoy everything that exists around you, man. There's gotta be something you can be grateful for. You got ears to listen to my voice right now. That's pretty cool to have. Not a lot of people have that. So let go of what your issues are with being overwhelmed. Stop measuring your worth by how busy you are. Start to feel a little bit lighter from that, and try to live with a little bit more purpose in regards to whatever you're overwhelmed by. And once you have that space, you can sort of focus on the things that truly matter, like maybe your relationships, your passions and hobbies, peace of mind. Because the thing about life is, when you actually break everything down, it's really simple, man. It really is. When you actually like structure it properly, it's not as like crazy as people make it sound like. It's just that people lack the structure, or at least they have fears towards a lot of things, and that's what makes life horrible. So getting rid of those things is gonna make your life quality so much better. You can eat the same meal and it will just be so much more tasty. It's crazy. But I'll probably go into more depth on that kind of stuff in a different video too. There's a lot of stuff to talk about, man. Anyway, I'm done waffling. Appreciate you guys for watching. The next time you do feel overwhelmed, remember, just maybe keep this little mantra in your head. It's not about doing more. It's about doing what matters, letting go of what doesn't serve you well, and giving yourself permission to just let go. Alright, so peace and blessings be to you all, and I'll see you in the next one.